For the first time in over 500 days, Apple is getting ready to release some new iPads. And today I want to go over the final leaks and rumors for not only Apple's completely redesigned 2024 iPad Pro, but also the upcoming larger iPad Air. Both of which to me will make this the most interesting year for the iPad, I think, since 2010 when the iPad was first introduced. Because what Apple's planning to do with the iPad Pro this year is the first major design change since the last one back in 2018. And this new iPad Pro is going to look pretty slick because it has now been confirmed in CAD drawings that it will be just 5 millimeters thin. That's thinner than an iPod Touch for reference, and it'll be the closest we've ever gotten to the iPad feeling like a piece of paper in your hand. What feels like the finalized vision for what Apple has always wanted the iPad Pro to be. But how is Apple going to do this? How do you just make the iPad thinner without sacrificing things like screen quality or battery life or the performance of an M3 chip inside? Well, it is apparently thanks to the all-new OLED displays that Apple is putting on these iPads. The screens are getting a bit larger this year to 11.1 and 13 inches respectively, the largest iPads that Apple has ever made. And with OLED screens, they are going to be the best looking screens that Apple has ever shipped on a product ever. OLED means you're getting true black levels where pixels can literally shut off, so you're seeing the actual color black. You're going to see an insane contrast between blacks and whites. And the color accuracy is getting even better too, with these screens being described as having unrivaled image quality. Potentially for the first time, Apple could even offer a matte version of these displays, where straight from Apple you could pick between the glossy standard finish or pay a bit more for something less reflective and that feels more like paper, which would be amazing if you do art. Now, this comes from a newer leaker called Instant Digital, who doesn't have a super extensive track record, but as third parties like Paperlike for years have already been doing this through a screen protector where you can make your iPad feel more like paper, I could definitely see Apple just allowing you to do it straight from them. They already offer matte displays on the other screens that they make. These new iPads are also going to have slimmer bezels around the edges, not by a ton, just about 10 to 15%, but you can see the subtle difference here is mocked up by Basic Apple Guy, and it looks pretty sharp. And yeah, that's just the screens on these new iPad Pros. Taking a look at the rest of the device, these CAD images seem to reveal that Apple will be choosing some slightly more rounded edges to match the design of the iPhone 15s, where they're more comfortable in your hand to hold. And we finally have confirmation that Apple is changing the position of the front-facing FaceTime camera. While it has always been on the very top in portrait mode, and then it's over on the left or right when you try to hold it in your hands and do a longer video call, just like the iPad 10, Apple is moving the FaceTime camera to be centered, wind and landscape, just like if you're using a MacBook or another laptop. Which sounds like a small thing, but I do a lot of video calls on my iPad, and I'm really excited for this one. Let me just leave it there. Eventually though, this product is going to run out of battery and need some extra juice, and that's why I partnered up with Basis, who sponsored today's video, to show you their brand new Blade 2 65-watt power bank. And this is the slimmest high power bank that I've used to date. It weighs just 323 grams, and at its thinnest, it's just 7.3 millimeters thick. Not to mention, it looks good. This has a really sleek and premium feeling aluminum design packed with Basis's latest technology, and it's even got a dope screen on here that'll give you details about your current charging session. And using the Basis app, it's user customizable too, so you can change the color of the display between a different option and also enter a special message that will show up as a tagline periodically. That being said, it doesn't just look good, it has some pretty impressive specs as well. It has a modest 12,000 milliamp hours of internal battery capacity, and it can charge your devices at outputting up to 65 watts of power. And with 2 separate USB-C ports on the top of the device, you can charge your phone and your laptop at the same time, or any 2 USB-C devices simultaneously. And right now you can get the Blade 2 65-watt power bank by heading over to the link down below in the description. Now let's get back to the rest of the video. This new 2024 iPad Pro could also be the first iPad to get MagSafe built in, as multiple sources over the years have reported that Apple's planning to do it in one of 2 ways. Either A, through a port that you would physically plug into, similar to MagSafe on a MacBook, or like on the iPhone, it would be built into the back of the iPad around the Apple logo using magnets to potentially potentially not only charge your iPad wirelessly, but also allow you to attach it to different things. I just really hope the MagSafe made the cut on this iPad, because I think just like it changed the way iPhone accessories work, I think it would do the same thing for the iPad accessory market and make your iPad so much more versatile. Because the other big part of this iPad Pro is not just it's gonna look better, OLED's gonna be nuts, it's gonna have a faster M3 chip inside. It is going to work with a couple of completely new accessories. The first of which is a more premium version of the Magic Keyboard made out of aluminum on the top to feel more like a MacBook than ever before, also probably be more expensive and have a bigger trackpad. And maybe if we're lucky, an escape key. I would personally really like an escape key on my iPad that's supposed to replace my computer. But maybe that is a hot take for the goons at Apple that have not put an escape key on the iPad. It's incredible. Regardless, this more premium version of the Magic Keyboard is going to look quite a bit different than the current version. It sounds like it will be more durable than the rubber polyurethane that Apple currently uses, and it is going to make this new iPad feel more like a MacBook than ever before. Now, is that the right call to just make the iPad more like a MacBook? We'll talk about that a bit more at the end of the video. But the second accessory that Apple will be revamping is a new version of the Apple Pencil. This, like the iPad's design, has not been refreshed since 2018, and Apple might be making it glossy once again. We've seen some leaks a while back that there could be interchangeable tips, maybe for different brushes, to physically feel different while you're using the Apple Pencil with the iPad. Great if you do art. And finally, there will be Find My built into this pencil, so if you lose the pencil, you can see it on a map. It'll probably have a U1 chip or maybe a small speaker in it to help you find it, which sounds really useful as somebody who is ashamedly lost an Apple Pencil or two before. I just think it's going to be really interesting to see 6 years later how has Apple changed some of these big accessories to make them even more useful. So putting all of this together, the 2024 iPad Pro is looking like the biggest update generation over generation ever, and this new product is going to unfortunately get a bit more expensive. While initially we had heard that the 11-inch model would start at $1,500 and the 13-inch model at about $1,800, it seems like we've come back down to earth. As according to a new report from DigiTimes, the prices would only increase on each model by about $160. So the 11-inch version would start around $1,000 and the 13-inch version around maybe $1,200 to $1,300, which frankly is a ton of money for an iPad Pro. So what if you want to get a new iPad, but you don't want to spend that much money? Well, that's why Apple's planning to update the iPad Air in 2024 around the same time in the next couple of weeks as well. This new iPad Air is going to have a similar design to the current version, but we've seen some images that show there could be a redesigned camera on it, although it will be a pretty muted update compared to the Pro. The main change here is that Apple is adding a larger screen size option for under $1,000 to the iPad Air line. It's going to be a 12.9-inch model. Essentially, think of the 2018 12.9-inch iPad Pro, but no super smooth 120 Hz ProMotion display. It's going to be that. It'll still be an LCD screen, but it'll be big, and it will be probably around $800-ish, which means you could save $300 or $400 if you want that screen size and you don't want to spend the extra money or need the additional features of the Pros. And according to a new report from Shrimp Apple Pro, it is also going to be getting that landscape FaceTime camera that the Pros are getting as well, so it will finally be centered on video calls. As for colors, it sounds like blue or pink could be going away from the current lineup, but there's no additional detail for what exact colors we'd be getting here. And a recent Apple chip leak suggests that this will have the M2 chip inside. There was some speculation, why would Apple not put their newest chip in? But as the iPad Air is a mid-tier model, it's just going to be the year-plus-old M2. And I wonder if this new iPad Air will work with the upgraded accessories that the iPad Pro is getting, or if the designs will now be so significant you'll have the old Magic Keyboard and Pencil for the iPad Air and the new Magic Keyboard and Pencil for the iPad Pro. And to answer the question we've all been wondering, when are the new iPad Air and Pro launching? When are these actually releasing? Well, I love this for the end of the video because I just feel like I don't have a straight answer. Some sources out of Asia have been reporting this Tuesday, March 26th date, but then Bloomberg's Mark Gurman says that is absolutely not happening and says it will be later in March, like the very end of the month or the beginning of April. Ross Young, a display analyst, has also echoed an April release date. All I can say is that in my bones, I just feel it happening in the next couple of weeks. It's very soon. They feel imminent. There's just too much smoke for there to be a fire, especially as other reports come in out of Asia saying that iPad Airs and Pros are already shipping to external countries outside of their manufacturing base. The thing is, setting all that to the side, are these upgrades this year, the redesigned iPad Pro and updated iPad Air, enough? Because 2024 to me feels like a crucial inflection point for the iPad as a product. I mean, with Apple Silicon, Macs are the best they've ever been, and the fact that you can now get an M1 MacBook Air for $700 is probably the best value in computers that I've seen since I've started YouTube. And on the opposite end of the spectrum is Apple Vision Pro, this hyper premium device that also seems to be a middle thing between your MacBook and your phone to augment some experiences and replace things like watching videos. Something that I use my iPad for mainly is consuming content, not actually working. Listen, all I'm saying is I just feel like Apple has to nail these updates. With basically 6 years of iterative updates for the iPads, we got to see what they're up to. And I really think the thin design is going to be nuts. I feel like there's something we haven't heard about for these iPads. Something maybe with MagSafe or these accessories. I feel like we're like so close. I've got like 99% of the final info, and there's just that 1% that Apple's going to be like, and it does this. I hope, because I really like my iPad, but I gotta be honest, I feel like using it a little bit less like every year, as it's just kind of been the same thing for a long time. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to see what Apple drops. Stay tuned here. I'll have updates when that happens. I've been Sam. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.